class. Hey guys, happy Friday. So today we don't have Carmi today. She's on travel. So we have David in the chat, and he is the John Bead graphic designer. So super cool. Thank you for your help today, David. And so if you have questions, hey, if you have questions, he's there to ask me. He'll jump in if I miss them. I'm trying to watch a little bit too. And so between the two of us, we'll catch your questions. All right, so today's class is the Flatbacks, Felt, and Fringe. So I just pulled together 3 really cool products and made earrings. And so these are going to be like more statement, more costumey, and really great for Halloween. So I just took a concept and went with it. And what you see here is felt. So this is good felt. And you can find this in store at Michael's. And I started by taking the felt from one of these packages and putting flatbacks on them. And so you can use any design you want, any colors. I mean, the sky is really the limit here, guys. So I just, to keep it real simple for the design I'm going to demo, just went with one color in a larger flatback size. So if you're new to gluing flatbacks, the larger crystals are going to be easier to work with. And if you're an experienced designer that has worked with them before and you want to try out some designs, in the PDF handout, I put some inspiration for example, here's the hexagon ones, and this is a really fun to brick stitch around. It's really cool. And then there's some other styles, like there's a little spider web you can do. I've gone crazy and done many. Here's some that I've got in progress that I haven't finished yet. Like I'm going to do an ornament. This one's going to be so pretty. Once you start doing this, it's really addicting. So it's like, it's hard to stop. And then I even made a little ghost today. Isn't he cute? He's going to become an earring too, or whichever side I go on here, and have little like white seed beads hanging down, right? Maybe some white crystal. I don't know. I'll have to finish that and post it. But so today I was just going to walk you through the one that I feel is like the most easy to demo concept, because from here, you'll just take it from here and you'll do your own wonderful designs. But I'm just going to show how to brick stitch basically around the side and how to do some fringe off the bottom. And so it's a combination of techniques that we've all done together before, with the exception of the gluing. But I'm going to show you that real quick too. And what you see here is one that I've finished already, that I glued and I let dry for 24 hours. In this design, you're going to want to give yourself time for glue. So usually, like if you're using the gem tack that I'm using, you're going to need about, I think the cure time's 12 hours. So overnight, and then you can cut around them and stitch. All right, so I'm going to switch to my mat really quick and turn on my big bright light. And so here's an up close view of everything I've got going today. And so part 1 is I'm going to pull out a brand new sheet of felt and just quickly demo gluing. And then we'll jump ahead and we'll cut out some of the shapes here. And then I've got step 1, which is row 1 of the brick stitch, and step 2, which is a decorative row. And then step 3, we put the fringe on, the wire guardian. And this one's down to the last fringe strand. So that's where I'm hoping to get to. And so I'll demo each step, and then we can jump ahead. We don't have to show the entire repeated steps over and over. All right, so let me just clear my mat really quick. And also, in case anyone's looking for the PDF, it is in the, if you didn't already download it when you signed up, you can find it in the chat here. David will post it for you guys. And then I've also got other patterns in there for you to check out. There's the pattern for this one and the pattern for this one. So if you like those inspiration ones, this was kind of a cool concept with like, this is the deep seam mix in 8/0, and I was just kind of going on an 8/0 fringe style at that time. We did one a couple of weeks ago and it really inspired me to do more, so that's where this idea came from. This one looks really cool on. And let's see, so things you'll need. There's a little, you know, kind of a lot of stuff, but you'll want to start with some good felt. And I always keep my scraps whenever I've been working on them, so I have something to glue on. I'll start with a fresh one today, just so it looks neat. And let's see, I'm going to move my mat, and I'm going to bring over something I can glue on that protects my work surface. This is just a piece of silicone, and you can get these in Michael's, and there's a couple of places you can get it. They're like in the paint section. I think I even saw it maybe in the stamping section too. So if you don't have one of those, you don't need to worry about it. You can get some wax paper or just any surface that you don't mind getting glue on that can wipe off. Okay, and then of course, here's the flatbacks I'm using. And again, I'm just gonna do a really simple circle. Super, super easy. So I'm gonna grab, I only need 7 of these. Do you want design? And the next thing you might want to have handy, it's just kind of an optional item, but if you have any toothpicks, that can help you with placing your glue. And if you have a block, because often if you've been using, like this one is a very loved gem tack bottle that I've been using a lot, and it's getting low. And so often what I have to do is use a toothpick to kind of get it to flow again. But if you are brave and you would like to just go straight from the glue to the felt, you can. You kind of want to go with a, you know, not a gigantic sploosh, but just enough that it has something to settle into. Now, I don't know if you can see really close. This is a dry one, but do you see how there's you can see where the glue is, sort of. When you're wearing this earring, you will not see it, but it dries completely clear. But in between these, I had even a little bit of glue got on one of the crystals on one of these, and just, so don't sweat this. This is super forgiving. You can just kind of give it a try. But what I usually do when I haven't used my glue in a while and I'm just testing it out and I just want to get a feel for how big of a dot it's going to make, I'll go ahead and just see what happens. And hopefully it works. And if not, you usually have to do this a couple times. There we go. All right. There we go. So it's going to start out a little bigger than I think I can safely do. Let's try one. And then I might use my toothpick for the others. There we go. So I just got a little dot there. And you can use like the katana or like a wax pickup stick, or because I'm using a big crystal, I'm just going to use my fingers. I'm just going to drop it. I have more control if I just use my hands. So, and so you can see it's kind of splooshing up a little bit. And that's okay because we want it to stick, right? And now I might grab my toothpick and just maybe make some dots because I want to have a lot of control where these go. So there's that one. And we'll drop another crystal on top of there. And I'm just going to go in a circle all the way around. Another little dot. So there's so many ways to do this, and that's why I've always felt like the sky's the limit, right? Any design that you can think of, any colors. Making circles is a really great way to get started because it's forgiving, right? And then you can just get a circle when you're done. And you can also, if you feel like you need to slide it, you can slide it. So it's just going along here.
So we do have one question here by Wanda Woman saying, can you use one of those wax pens to pick up and place the flatbacks?
Absolutely, yes. Total truth here, I forgot to bring mine. I have a katana, a crystal katana, which is what Kelly was using in our class a couple of weeks ago, where she showed how to bling a home decor item. And so one of those would work really great. They also sell in the section where I believe it's in the jewelry section where they have the trays and the glue pen. There's little wax pickup sticks there. But what you'll find in my handout is a link to the katana, because that's the one that I think is super, super cool. But there's so many options, guys. Yeah. And definitely if you were working with a little smaller crystal, you'd want to use that. But I'm kind of old school. I use my hands because sometimes I have a little trouble with the sticks, to be totally honest. They don't always come off when I place them, especially when I'm working with the felt. So that's why I thought, you know, I'll just show this way, and with the caveat that anything will work too. Anything you like doing. And a great thing to do would be going and taking a quick look at Kelly's class, because she had a bunch of tips in there about designs that I thought were really neat. And she also gave an actual visual demo of the counts per square inch for all the different kinds of crystals we have. I thought that was really neat the way that she did that. So that's definitely worth taking a look at. And you just type in Kelly DeFries, John Bead Michaels on YouTube and you'll find it. Okay, so this one, I'm going to let this one dry. So I'm just going to move this aside really quick. We'll set this one over here. And I'm just going to set this over here. And let's cut out a dry one. So 12 to 24 hours later, we're back. And I'm using some good old sewing scissors, fabric scissors. These are in the sewing section at Michael's. But I think the felt is easy to cut, so you could even get away with just using your precision scissors. All those things are going to work just fine. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So my circles aren't perfect, but when you stitch on them, they become like a lot better. So you can see that's not a perfect circle at all, but stitching on it is kind of a way to get it to forgive that. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's just very gently cut this out. I'm just going to go slow. And be nice to yourself. You know, like I'm always very hard on myself about how perfect it is. And, oh, I could have done that better. And then nobody notices that but me. So you want to leave a little margin around it, like about that much. And so you'll have something to bring your needle through and stitch around that you can cling to. And the cool thing is, the black thread doesn't show. So let me introduce the thread really quick. I'm going to be using the black good thread. I have an open spool right here ready to go. And so let me just get my scissors out of the way real quick. And we'll bring my mat back. And let's start embellishing it. Okay, so I started with some size 8 seed beads, and again, everything I'm using and everything that I'm showing with, and the patterns and counts, and I'll explain more about the counts, but all of that is in the handout. But if you're gonna do fringe, you might want to give yourself a little extra length when you're cutting threads. So here's the designs. It looks like I went with about 120 inches. That might be a little bit more than you need. Maybe, 100 would be okay. And it is also okay to leave a long tail and then work from that too. So there's lots of options there. But so I'm starting with size 8 per the design 1, which is on that third sheet of the handout. And I'm just going to do a basic regular brick stitch. So it's kind of the same thing that if you've ever done any bead embroidery, like the brick stitch around for like a cabochon, this is the same exact thing. Absolutely same process. And my beading needle, I think it's a size 12 or size 10. It's what's on my mat from last week. This is also forgiving. You can get away with any beading needle you like.
Got another one from Sandy saying, is good thread about the same size as Wildfire or is it thicker?
Oh, so good thread is much thinner than Wildfire. So Wildfire is 0.006. And I believe the good thread is more like a size A or a size B. So it's pretty small. It's meant for like an 11-0 seed bead. This is fringe, beautiful for fringe. It super flowy, silky, and it's doesn't need to be waxed, but it is definitely not going to be as strong, or it's not going to give you structure. But on Wildfire is going to give you structure, and so it will work for this part, what we're about to do, the brick stitching part. When you get to your fringe, if you want to switch to another thread at that point, if you don't have good thread, Nymo will work, in any A, B, or D. All those are going to work. Just something flowier for fringe.
All right, we got a couple of options.
Yeah. There's always something you can do, and so many threads can be worked. And I always just tell folks, just try it and see what happens and see if you like your result. And if you don't, just switch it. You can always pull the beadwork out of these. They're really forgiving. And I'm going to show you a starting method that will not damage the felt. So when you're bringing your needle through the felt, it's not going to leave a visible hole afterwards. So here I'm going to show you just like that. And then once you remove it, see, it just disappears. It's really
Jesse's
nice.
wondering if 0.04 Wildfire will work.
Oh,
yes, no?
I think so. Your fringe, yes, it will definitely work for the part we're doing now. The brick stitch absolutely will work. When you get to this part, where you're adding these fringes, it'll just be a little less wavy and flowy, but it'll still work. Like they'll have more structure when you're wearing them. They might just kind of stay a little more, I don't know, shaped maybe. But it will definitely still work, especially for getting the technique down. And honestly, like the wildfire, you'll have an easier time with brick stitch if you're using the wildfire. I just wanted to be an all one thread, so I didn't have to change it midstream, but it absolutely works no matter what. All right, so let's start the brick stitch on the felt. And so I've got my strand and I fold it over enough to give me a little less, you know, to pull through working lengthwise. And then just, you can just pick a spot. It doesn't have to be, we're working on a circle. And if you'd like to add a wire guardian like I did, and just choose the spot where you might want your wire guardian to be and maybe start there. But even if you don't do that, you can just weave to it. So either way, totally fine. And bring this up and leave a tail that I just left about 7 inches because I'm just going to knot it, weave it in and trim it. But you can always leave a super long tail later, weave it down and have it become part of your fringe. So there's always that as an option. But let's just bring on one size 8 seed bead right here. So there's my one size 8. Got this other end here. I'm going to bring it up through that bead. And so just take a look at where we are. We've got the bead coming on. This is my tail. And I'm going to encourage it to just go right up through there and pull that through. And if you start your brick stitch this way, it gives you a chance to lock this down. So what I did on my samples was I tied a double knot with this right here. The thread that I'm using is thin enough that I can still get my needle through it, even after doing this. If you're using wildfire, you may find you don't need to do this. It might hold its shape just fine when you add your next one. But so there's our bead. And we just did a little double knot. So I like to hold the tail, pinch the felt there, and then pick up another bead. And we're going to bring it back to front through the felt. And where to place it, just kind of look at where you're at. And I'm coming down pretty close to the stone. That's okay. See, I don't want my felt to tear and lose the bead. So I'm going to go about 1 seed bead over. So I've got that. That's going there. And then just come up through that bead from underneath. And pull tight. And that's pretty much all you got to do. Let's go and add a few more. And then we'll switch to my jump ahead sample. Just kind of eyeballing 1 bead over. And it's really forgiving. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see they're just sitting right on the side. And one thing that I can add about every step of this process, you can stop after each step and have a cute result. So the row 1, if you like that just by itself, that could be your earring. If you wanted to add the next row and then just stop there, you could. And then if you like adding fringe, add the fringe. Every step of the way looks finished, is what I was meaning. So you see we're just picking up a bead and then going through the felt from back to front. Then you come back up through the bead. And sometimes it'll do this big loopy thing on you, and that's okay. Just pull it down. Let's do one more. Back to front on that. And then just pull up. Okay. So you want to keep going all the way around until you reach the other side. And when you do that, and apologies, I just got to unwind this one. And I wanted to share this tip for you guys. If you're like me and you don't always finish your stuff right where you are at, but you need to clear your mat and work on something else for a little while, I grabbed these in the Michael's embroidery section, these little cards. They're so handy for wrapping that extra thread around for your OBEs, or what are we calling them? UBEs, unfinished bead experiments. So I have a lot of these. They come in a huge pack of like, I don't know, 25 sheets with 4 on each sheet that you just punch out of the cardboard. So I use those a lot. Kind of cool.
UBEs.
Yeah. Like there's lots of different, some people call them unfinished beading projects. So depends which one you use. You need a different abbreviation, but
Yeah.
I got a pile. So I have a very, very intimidating looking pile of unfinished things.
Cindy's got a clever one, and Valerie as well. Unfinished objects, UFOs.
Oh yeah, that's even better. I like that. And so good thread is a little bit because you can't flatten it, you can't do our wildfire trick. You're gonna want to do the needle your thread trick to get that threaded. Okay, so this one is all the way around. It's ready to go. We need to close it. And I wanted to share a couple tips as we do that. So mine in this case has worked out where I've got like serendipitously one bead to close it. And you'll notice that I didn't share the counts around. And that's because it's going to be possibly different for everybody, especially if you did a different design. But even if you did the same bead, the same flat back, same bead size, you still might get a little different count. And I did different counts just between the first one I made and the fourth one I made. And so let me show you a quick trick on that. Bringing this one over. It might be a little tricky to see it. Actually, it's on this one. But it has a spot where I didn't have enough room for another size 8, but it was too big of a gap to just join it. So here's what I did. Do you see the 2 11 O's there? I know it's a little tricky to see. I apologize, but so you see I came around and I finished my last size 8, and then that space just wasn't right. I couldn't fit another size 8, but that was too big of a gap to join. I just put 2 11 O in black. Nobody sees that. And I'm going to just brick stitch right on. No problem. So feel it out and don't worry. Like whatever happens, happens, and it's going to work out good. And so on this one, I just happened to have gotten lucky and I have the right amount of space for one more 8O. So here's my working side. This is the tail side. I'm going to get that tail out of the way. I'm just going to hold it. And let's bring on this new bead. So back to front here. Pull that on. Come back up through it. Just tighten that back down. Okay, so from here, I just want to join my last bead to my first one. So you just want to just go down through that bead. This is the one my tail is coming out of. So I'm just going to keep that tail out of the way. Bring this down through. So I'm coming down through that bead. Go ahead and just go through the felt again from back to front. And come back up through the same bead. This will be the one your tail's exiting. There you have a join. And it just looks like it fits absolutely perfectly. And so if that didn't happen for you, if you found yourself, you had a gap, again, use that trick I showed you, where you can just squeeze 2 11 O's in there. And it's the same height. Okay, so let's start the next round. So what I did for this one is I brought in some silver lined ruby red here. Nice Halloween-y colors. This is like really vampire earrings or something. I like it. And from here, the first part, and everything I'm showing you guys, you don't have to memorize. It's all right here, how to do it. And then I actually put the wire guardian on at the end, and I'm going to show you a forgiving way to do that without having to go through beads multiple times and things like that. But we're just going to start with an 11O red, and then we're still going to be using our 8Os. So we'll start with the 11O red, and then just one 8O. And then take a look at, if anyone's new to brick stitch, we created thread bridges when we added these beads to the felt. So our first thread bridge is this one right here. You can see it kind of reflecting there on the needle. Our second thread bridge is this one. I'm going to go through the second one, and it'll probably hug tighter toward the, the left-hand side of that thread bridge, which is what I want. I'm just going to bring that down. And for now, I'm going to just leave that red one sitting sideways. I'm not going to worry about it. When we come back around and join, we're going to be going through that bead and giving it another lockdown. So for now, just let it hang out. And just grab another 11-0. And here's where, when it comes to brick stitch, you got to kind of just take a look at it and see where's the next one that's closest. In this case, I think I can go through the third one there and it's going to work. But sometimes you have to share a thread bridge with the former bead in order to make it look right. And you won't always know until you've placed the bead, but here's a really good example of that. So in this case, I really do want to share that thread bridge with my next bead. It's already kind of leaning a little wonkily to the left. So I'm just going to bring this one on under the thread bridge here and pull tight. Come up through it. And now that did two really nice things. It evened out my red bead and it sits nice and flat. So that's what you're going for. If it doesn't work out, you can pull that thread right back out. You want to remove your needle and then just, you can pinch the bead and pull the bead off of the thread bridge. It comes right off if you think it needs it, but for the most part. So here's another decision point. Do I share one or go to the next one? I'm thinking the next one, especially since it's an 8-0. It's going to be a little bit bigger bead. So we're just deciding if the gap is too big and I want to share a bridge or not. So this one's iffy. It could go either way. I think I'm going to share it. And if it looks kind of bunched, then we'll pull it out. Let's see, how do we like that? No, that's good. So let's add a few more. Just every other bead, you're just switching from 8-0 to 11-0. And so just like that, you just want to keep going all the way around. I'm just gonna look at the chat really quick, make sure. Yeah, so if you guys are okay with this, I can jump ahead to that one I showed you a minute ago, where we finished going all the way around. And we're just ready to join this one. Jump in and stop me if you want to see a few more of those. I think a lot of you guys have done so much brick stitch that, and I'm saving these because I use them over and over again.
Your UFOs?
For my UFOs. Or you could even say UBGs, unfinished beady goodness.
UBGs or UFOs? I don't know.
I don't know. UFO kind of just has more.
Yeah, it already has its own.
It already has its like
reputation.
mystique, so yeah.
Yeah, it's well established over there.
And it has something in common, which is if you take a look at it, you don't have any idea what it is.
Very true. Very true. But have you ever seen an alien seed bead? That's a real question.
Actually, that would be great for Halloween. Should I do that? We need one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's spooky, but because I'm gonna make mine gray so it looks realistic.
Can't go wrong with spooky.
Yeah.
It is a part of the theme.
Yep. Okay, yeah, I'll do it. I already have a pumpkin I was gonna post later, you guys. So the pumpkin will have a friend. All right, so this is the almost finished. We're almost there. We need a couple things. We need a wire guardian. So let me grab a wire guardian really quick. So I've got those. I'm using these stainless ones, but you can use any. There's gold and silver available on the Michaels wall. And they come in these little, like kind of sealed packages, which is really cool. Well, this is stainless, so it doesn't tarnish. But if, for example, this was the sterling, it'd be really nice to have these little bags. Do you want to keep them in there? Okay. So don't need it just yet. I just want to have it ready. So every time you do this, you may find that it's just a little bit different. Let me pull my tail out of the way here. I'm just going to pinch the tail back here. And I want to bring on the next in the pattern, which in this case would be a size 8-0. So bring this 8-0 on. And let's just look at it. Let's just see what happens. If I have too big of a gap, definitely I'm not going to be able to do another additional repeat. But I've got a gap there. And so even though it's not gonna look exactly like my original sample. So let me show you 2 examples. On this one, it was perfect. I had an 8.0 and it was right next to the 11.0. And so what I did is I just popped my wire guardian right on top of the 11.0 and the 8.0. But on this one, I was not as lucky. And I just decided, you know what? It's good. And so I put another 11.0 off the wire guardian on that one. And
Looks
again,
clean to me.
when you're wearing this, no one's going to see that. So I'm liberating you guys from worrying about making your brick stitch match, because it's just not worth the struggle. You just go with it, right? Because it's not gonna show. People are gonna see the striking finished effect. They're not gonna worry about if your count matches exactly with your other earring. So I'm going 11.0, and I'm gonna go underneath the thread bridge here, and back up through that bead, little tiny bead there. And there you go. So we ended with 2 11.0. Let's join it just like we did on the first round. Here's the tail side. Just going to keep that out of the way. Let's go back down through this first bead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a thread bridge that's above the first round of 8.0. And to do that, because it's hard to see, right? Because the beads are on top of each other. So I always just go for a gap in the first round. So I'll go through that gap right there, which is the one that's in between the next 2 8.0 and round 1. And now I know I caught that thread bridge. Flipping it over, I'm going to come back up through the same one. That same bead there. And so we should see those lock next to each other really nicely. And now it's up to us. Where do we want to put our wire guardian? So I'm just going to look at it and I'm going to decide where I want it to be. And if I don't like where it is, I'll move it. I'll weave around to be where I want to be to put it somewhere. So I'm actually liking that. That feels like a good center to me. So I'm going to go right out of this bead into the wire guardian. But just play with it, see what you like. Come up one side of this, go down the other side. And then just pull tight, get that to lock right down. Okay, so this is an 8.0 that I'm hanging over here. So I'm going to go through the 8.0. And I'm going slow so I don't get tangles or knots, and so that everything just stays right where I put it. Again, I want to find a thread bridge, so let's grab this one. So let's go through that one right there. And then I'm going to come up through the 8.0 from the front. If you can get through your wire guardian in one swoop there, go for it. I wasn't able to, so I just went through the bead. And now I'm just going to get through that wire guardian. There we go. So if you're using good thread right now, what you're going to find is that you're going to want to reinforce this a little bit, maybe a lot. So let's reinforce it, and let's pretend that we don't want to go through that 11.0 anymore because it's really tight. Now I can get through it, no problem, because I believe I'm using a size 12 beading needle. I can get through it once more, no problem. But I want to show a trick that can save you if you're ever in a situation where you can't get through those beads over and over again to reinforce your connection. What you can do is just go through just the wire guardian. So just come back through it. I'm just going to go slow so I don't get a knot. The knots happen when that coiling effect starts to take place. So there, I'm just through the wire guardian, and instead of going through a bead, you can grab the thread bridge on the top, on the ring too, right? So the one that I grabbed just now, making sure that stays where I put it. I grabbed the one that's above this red seed bead and this other one. So the thread bridge above these two. And now I'm going to go back here through just the wire guardian. And just keeping that tail out of the way here. There it goes. So it might be time to get rid of my tail. Let me finish this wire guardian and we'll do that. And now what I did here is my needle just wanted to. It went down through both of those 8/0 beads. Why not? You can go through the felt again. It won't show. So I'm doing that. Make that really strong. Why not? Because I can, right? And then I'm going to do one more trip over, and then we're going to head back through the bead this time. Okay, I think that's strong. That's going to be pretty good. Give it a hang test to make sure it's good. Again, that tail is still hanging out here, so it's going to pull that over. Okay, so I went down through the bead this time, and I'm going to come up through the adjacent one. And it doesn't matter which one you've got adjacent, you can just come right up through it. And I want to get down to start my fringe. So let's see. First thing I'm going to do really quick is get rid of the tail. I don't really want to do a bunch of fringe with tail thread hanging out for me to tangle onto. So here is another needle. This is my tail. Let's get that in there. There we go. Okay. So to get rid of your tail, super easy. Just bring it through a few beads. I'm going to figure out where it is in space right now. And I'm actually going to bring it down through the adjacent 8/0. And then I might go back up through the next one. And up through this one. There's one more here. And I'll grab that thread bridge, come up through this bead. And I think that's good enough. I can trim it there. But you can also, if you want to reinforce with the tail, you can reinforce the side. And, you know, a few more loops around maybe wouldn't have hurt, but I think this is totally fine. Because remember, it started with a little knot, so nothing's gonna come apart. The worst thing that'll happen is it'll be visible, but that's pretty good. It's pretty hidden. Okay, so fringe. Getting started with a fringe can be a little intimidating for a couple of reasons. When you're looking at it, you're thinking, I know I want to weave down here and get to be right around here, but I want my fringe to hang centered. So what I actually did is I just grab a pencil here, just go straight down from here and identify whatever bead is your center. So I'm thinking my center bead is this red one right here. That one. And I did 11 strands of fringe. So that's my middle. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I want to aim to exit from that bead right there to start my first fringe strand. So that's usually how I do it. And I figure out how many I'd like to do. And if you choose an odd number, you'll have a center. And something else I could add. I'm going for 11 because I feel like I want to match my other earrings count. But if you felt like you had 2 beads that were kind of the center, which this one you could say maybe, then just do 10 and have these be your 2 center and then just count over from there, count 4. So whichever works. It's just a little trick for getting that fringe centered. Weaving toward where I want to be is super easy. I'm just going to go up and down. So down to the next bead here. And up through the next one here. And down. Up. I think this was my 5th one. I lost count, so here's this one. Center. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so this is where I want to be. I want to be exiting from this one. So I'm going to go down it. Down meaning toward the center, toward the felt. But I want to be coming back up through that. So I'm going to grab the thread bridge that's under it just by identify the 2 that are below it and try to just go between them. And that way you know you got that thread bridge. pull up. I'm gonna flip it around. And then just kind of try to press your needle up against the inside of the bead so you don't lose that thread bridge you caught. You'll know you got it because when you pull, everything will stay in place. Otherwise, it'll pop back out. And so there it is. All right, so I'm 5 beads away from my center, which is where I want to be. Let's start the fringe pattern. And again, you don't have to memorize because it's all here. I put the fringe pattern for both earrings, but on this one, I added some 11-0 opaque black, and then I did like a silver lined red, and I went up to 8-0. Then I put a crystal. So I need to get my crystals. And again, all of these part numbers are in the handout, so you can just put those right into the Michaels app. So this is what's left from my double strand of 4mm Jet AB Bicones. You get 62 pieces on there. I've used quite a lot of them because I've made a bunch of demo samples. But you should have plenty for 2 earrings, maybe 2 pairs. I can give you a count for how many I used, but it's 22 per earring, so 44 for a pair. So you won't quite get 2 off of there, but you'll definitely get more than 1. You'll have leftovers. And so let's get my 11-0. Okay. All right, so I started with 7 here. And just bring that down. And then 3 of the red, 11-0. And then I did 3 of the size 8. And this just makes it have, it's such a cool like turn, like how do I explain it? Not turn, but graduating up and down like that. I just thought it looked really neat. So that's what I'm doing here. Got the 3. Let's get the bicone. 3 more. 3 of these. There we go. Okay, and then next we need 7 more of the 11-0 opaque black. 4, 5, 6, and then there's 7. And then I went back to 3 red. Feel free to do any pattern you'd like. This is just the one that I did. 3 more 8-0. Crystal. And then I used a opaque black for a turning bead. So that's the one I'm going to leave behind for turning for my fringe. So just bring that all down here. And you skip it. You want to skip your turning bead there. And then I need to come back up through all of these beads and through the one that I'm exiting here in my brick stitch. So I want to go through the whole fringe strand, skipping this bead, of course. And then I want to keep going up through this bead here. So let's do that. Probably get through, a few of them. And it can help if you push down on your thread while you're pushing up with your needle. Another trick I use to make sure I don't miss beads is if you lift it up and look at it, make sure there's none hanging so you didn't skip any. Otherwise your thread will be visible on that fringe strand. And now back through this one. I'm just going through the 8-0 in that round 2. That one right there. Okay, and so remember that turning bead we left here at the beginning? Go ahead and just pinch it, and then up here, pull with your needle. And then you'll have your thumbnail left. That'll kind of be your tension guide. You can just gently flow that out. So there's fringe strand 1. And oh, look at all the sparkle going on here. It's so pretty. From where we are here, we want to start our next fringe strand. So it's super easy. You just jump down to the next bead, but I have a trick I want to share. And I'm going to try to show it. It's hard to see, but before I jump and go through my next bead, so I want to come up through that bead, right? But a little strength addition can't hurt. And so you can go under the thread bridge by going through the 2 beads below it, or going in between them, I mean. And so what I did is I just brought my needle in between those 2 8-0 that are sitting right below the bead I want to exit. And I'm going to just do that before I turn and come up to the next bead. That's going to stop your thread gap in your fringe. I don't know why it works, but it does. I think it just adds a little bit of friction thread next to thread. As it comes down, if you were to just go right into the bead, all you've got between you and this one's, having a gap is a loose strand that's connecting these two beads versus one that's gone under the thread bridge and come up through the next bead has just a little extra layer of tight, but not too much. You want to still make sure this one can move, lay it flat, fluff it out, because this is the last chance you have to do every time you add the new one, make sure that last one is as you like it. Okay, let's do one more and then we'll jump ahead and we'll finish one that's almost done. And let me know if you guys have any concern with fringe before I get there. So there's my 7 and my 3. Oops, I forgot these 3. I need those. And it's a really cool bicone. And the AB sparkle on these bicones it's not coming over for you guys on the camera, but it is really pretty. There we go. There's 3. Let's get 3 more of these. 7 of these. Here's 7. 3 more here. And our turning bead. Okay. And fringe counts they're kind of fun to play with. You can always change your fringe count. It doesn't have to be the same. I find on a round, making the counts the same for all the beads, you still have definition and dimension because it the way it works, I feel like the way it looks, it just comes out so nice. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but it gives it kind of like you still have a center point. So this particular pattern, all the counts are the same for every strand, which makes it nice and easy to remember. And then I also like to, another tip for fringe, I like to make my counts have segments so that I don't have to count like 25 beads, right? I count 7, then I count 3, then I count 3, right? So I'm not having to, and then it's easier to error check yourself too. It's really nice. Okay, here's another one. Just gonna pinch that end. And pull up. And let me show one more turn and then we'll jump to the next one. So again, before I make that jump into the next bead where I want to be exiting from, I'm going to go under the thread bridge that's below it. And to catch that, I'm just going to go between the 2 8/0 that are sitting below it in row 1. Catch them and then come up through that bead. And there you go. Nice and strong turn. But the fringe is still flowy. And if you're using the wildfire here, just double check that you that it moves enough for you. And if it doesn't, you can always weave in and tie off and then grab a thinner thread now, weave in that new thread. A lot of people do that on brick stitch designs because brick stitch does really perform nicely with wildfire. So yeah, so there's that. Let's jump ahead. Let's grab the other one. This one's almost done. It looks like I never weaved my tail thread on that one, but just ignore that part. And my strand is much longer than I needed it to be. I think I went a little crazy on this one. And on this one, I'm going to trim this really quick. It's got some fray diamonds, so let's just do a quick side cut there. And there we go. Awesome. Okay, last one. All right, and then here's C3. One. This is all looking really good. Oops.
I was gonna say it looks exquisite so far.
Thanks. I'm happy with how this pattern came out. It's one of those ones where I just liked it. And now I've got this one done just in time for Halloween. So I think these are my pair. These are the ones
There you
that
go.
I use. I just gotta figure out my costume. All right, so here's the bicone turning bead, and we are done. Just finish this fringe up. Making sure I didn't skip any. It looks good. Here we go. Just get through these last ones. I'm going to continue through the bead above where I want to be. And let's tighten it. Grab that turning bead. There we go. So that's pretty much all you got to do to weave in. I'll show that super, super fast, but you'll just go ahead and just go through some beads. Catching a thread bridge can't hurt. I usually don't knot when I'm weaving an umbrella stitch, but you can if you really want to. I know there's a couple folks that enjoy doing that. Another thing to point out is, remember how we were up here and we had to weave down to get to be here? So this side has been reinforced and this side hasn't. If you feel like you want to, and you needed to weave in anyway, you can start heading back up this direction just to say, I did on both sides what I did on the other side. But you don't really have to do it. It's just if you like it. And that is what I'm doing here. And I feel like I can trim it there. Okay. So I just push down, pull up, or use a burner. And there we go. Now we've got our earrings. So all you have left to do is just pop an ear wire on there. I think for some reason I thought I already put one on this one, but I guess I didn't. Another one floating around. But I've got a pair of chain nose pliers just really quick. Just gonna open up that loop on the bottom here. And just make sure you got it facing forward. Close the top. There it is. And so once again, here's the other design that we had going. And if you have any questions for me about brick stitching on this one took a little bit longer to make because I did some different stuff. One of the things I did was I used 11-0 as row 1. So you can see that one was kind of an epic stitch. Like it took a lot more time. But the reason I did 11-0, if you remember the shape of this one originally, it came out as a, put it somewhere here. It was a hexagon shape. Let me show you in the handout since I seem to have misplaced it here on the desk. But the shape of the hexagon, to stitch around that, when you get to your corners, don't sweat it. Place your last bead as close as you can get to that corner. That makes sense. And then just bring your next stitch to the other side. And what'll happen automatically is it'll just round out the corner. See how it just rounded it out. So you can stitch on corners, squares. You can cut a square and stitch on a square and it will just look like a rounded corner square. It looks like you just pulled in those corners. See, it comes out really good. So this one also was easy to cut because I used the points as my guides to cut around. So yeah, that one came out really good. I was happy with how that one came out. And then the row after it, I actually did 8-0, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, same thing as I did before. But in this case, it was just the deep sea mix going in a pattern. I just went with iris, iris, cobalt, iris, iris, cobalt. I thought that looked cool. And then those have 11-0 in between to make them flowy. And then a cool thing about this one also is your midpoint's already identified by that point. So you can just make that one your center. I did a different color just to make it real clear. And then I just did 5 or 6 out. I can't remember what this one is. 2, 3, 6 out from there. So this one's pretty epic. This one took a long time. And I still need to make the rest of the pair. I need to make the second one. So maybe when I do that, I will pop a camera on it and show stitching on those corners real quick or something. So yeah. Any questions for me that I missed? So that's pretty much the project in a nutshell. Anyway, here's the really pretty spider web. That one came out really cool. Oh, and this one, again, it's 8-0 as the first round. Like that's what we did here today. And then on this one, I did 11-0 4mm crystal 11-0. So that border was a little different. but still really doable and really cool. And then I don't know what I'm doing with this, but this is going to be a Christmas tree ornament. And I think I'm going to do something, just something a little different with it. I think it's going to have a bigger border since it's so statement. But yeah. And I've got to finish my ghost. So, so that's this project. I didn't see magnifier questions. I don't see any questions unless I missed one, but I'll show you guys just real quick the next week's class. We're going to be doing a knotting demo. So this one is so pretty. I love this one. The way it came out.
That looks exotic.
Hey, thanks, David. Yeah, this one I had a really fun time making, and it is made with the good broad thread. And so I recommend using this, but if you have Beelon too, Beelon will work. So you can bring your Beelon and that will also knot up very beautifully. I use tweezers when I knot. I put some tweezers in the handout from Michael's, but you don't have to do the tweezer knotting because lots of folk, they do without tweezers and it works fine. So just keep that in mind when you're grabbing supplies. And I used this Czech strand really quick. This one here. This is in the wall at Michael's. It's in the handout. And you'll need 2 of them because you'll want to have enough to go all the way around. And then I used some black crystals. So I used 6mm round, but this is a project where you can use any beads you want. So if you have a strand of beads you want to use, bring it. Grab some thread like this, Beelon, and then we're just gonna do crazy good stretch knot on that. All right, so and then also check out michaels.com/classes. A bunch of our other classes are up. We're at the hour here, so I'm not gonna pull them out, but you can just go and see them, michaels.com/classes. And I wanted to mention also quickly, these earrings are in the blog. And they're going to be, they're going to be on the blog. They're currently in the Facebook group. The Facebook group, the best way to find it is to go to our blog. So you go to blog.johnbead.com and just look for the Facebook group and join from there. If you're not already a member, I posted these this morning, the pattern for that. And also we have a class with Mark Montano coming up. He's going to teach for us. So I got to see his project, and you can too, because I think it's on the website now. I meant to check before class. I think it's there. He's teaching for us on November 10th. So definitely want to sign up for that. All right, guys. Hey, I'm gonna let you go, get your weekend started, and I want to wish you happy beading. Make sure to reach out if you need anything from us, questions, or just want to share your work. Hashtag Make It With Michaels and hashtag John Bead, and have a great rest of your weekend.